Delighted to have our brother Ivan Wells with us this morning. He's going to minister to us in song. Brother Ivan, come and minister to us this morning. God bless you.
Well, I remember some years ago, my mother brought a cousin of mine who was smaller than I into the back garden. And we brought a wee spade and bucket with us. He says, no, I don't want you to do that. Kneel down at this bed. I want you to weed. Now, before you start, that's a flower, that's a weed, that's a flower, that's a weed, and she went round the whole bed, and then somebody called her. She said, someone wants to speak to you on the phone. And before she went, she said, now don't forget, that's a weed, and that's a flower. She wasn't through the door till my cousin pulled out the best flower in the bed. And I looked at her, and I looked at the flower, and I looked at her, and I looked at the flower. And she got up on her feet with the wee spade, and she kneeled over me, and she said, don't you talk, I tell you. Don't you talk, I tell you. You know, friends, it reminds me of the story in Matthew 13, verse 30, the parable of the sower. It said, let the tares grow along with the wheat until the harvest, and then bind them together in bundles to burn them. But gather the wheat into my barn. At the end of your life, friend, will you be with the wheat or the tares? Heaven or hell?
Burdened by sins you carry, failure and loss you see. Why in your darkness tarry? Jesus can set you free. You need a friend like Jesus. He is so good and kind. You need a friend like Jesus. All things in him you'll find. If you are sad and lonely, without a friend to cheer, if there are heartaches only marking your pathway here, you need a friend like Jesus. He is so good and kind. You need a friend like Jesus. All things in him you'll find. Out of his heavenly treasure, he will his grace bestow. Without a price or measure, if but to him you go. You need a friend like Jesus. He is so good and kind. You need a friend like Jesus. All things in him you'll find.
Well, my sister wouldn't be well at the minute, and I was sitting with her in a home. And into that home came a young nurse. And when she began to speak, well, everyone would know she wasn't from this part of the world. So I wanted to find out what part she was from and tried to witness to her. I said, "Are you from Poland?" "Hungary." "What do you know about God?" "God? God is in this room. God is in the pathway. God is upstairs. God is in the garden. God is everywhere." "I know. He's in my heart." "Is he in yours?" But she didn't understand. She went over to my sister and kissed her on the head, her forehead, and said, "I will look after you." God is in this room. God is in the pathway. God is upstairs. God is in the garden. God is everywhere. I know. He's in my heart. Is he in yours? Is God in your heart, friend? For if he's not, remember Judas Iscariot. God wasn't in his heart. And where he went to, you will follow.
I stood one day at Calvary, where Jesus bled and died. I never knew he loved me so, for me was crucified. And as I stood there in my sin, his love reached down to me, and all the shame that filled my soul that day at Calvary, I knelt one day at Calvary. Mine eyes were filled with tears. To the things such love I had refused through all those wasted years. And as I knelt, I heard him say, I did it all for thee. And all the love that filled my soul that day at Calvary. I prayed one day at Calvary, I'm thine forevermore. Forgive me, Lord, for all my sin, my lost estate restore. And as I prayed, to me he gave salvation full and free, and all the peace that filled my soul that day at Calvary.